Nina Turner put out a tweet the other day. Nina's obviously a good friend, and we can't say enough good about her. But she did put out a tweet the other day that got a lot of very interesting responses. And so the response that she got from people who claim to understand everything there is to know regarding economics is to say that this particular message of a living wage, should the minimum wage be $25 an hour? It's not a question of will it make the Big Mac price go up? Studies show this. Other countries that pay higher wages show this. Well, technically, she's not right. The price of the Big Mac will go up, but it will go up at such a small margin that you won't even realize it. If it goes up 30 cents, 40 cents, hell, if it goes up $1, it's not noticeable when you consider what an actual living wage, let's say $25 an hour, would actually mean.
This was a controversial statement.
Oh, extremely. Extremely controversial.
Yes, let's keep everybody underpaid so they live off of...
Is there a way to make this bigger?
I don't know. You could take us out.
Well, no, that's not what I was... I'm not trying to do that.
All right, so just let's talk about what you're wanting to talk about. We don't need to look at the tweet. We get the tweet.
Well, here's what you need to know, is that even though if you can't really see it really well, the responses from a lot of people is, from one hand, you've got $25. That's way too little. $250 an hour. You hate the poor. And like you said, it won't raise prices. So why not 1,000 or 100,000?
See, I hate that straw man crap.
Yeah. So there's that one element that you will see. But then there are other responses that people will say, could be picking off whether or not she was paying her canvassers more than $15 an hour. Okay. There's that. If McDonald's is forced to pay $25 an hour to burger flippers, you see, there is a prime example of that. See, that person's not conservative. That person's just a dickhead. And why is that person a dickhead? Because there is this belief that it doesn't matter if you have a job. It matters is your job of any value. And flipping burgers apparently is not a value. That doesn't matter to people. You should be grateful that you even have a job. And they want to pay you piss poor amount because you don't have a skill. But the truth is, it does require skill in order to operate a fryer, in order to clean, in order to manage. There's a lot of things that go into working in a fast food restaurant. I don't know why the knee-jerk reaction, though, is always to say going to the fast food restaurant. Why do you keep showing me this? I keep getting distracted. I thought you were trying to show me something.
I couldn't. No, I wasn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to be in your zone, man.
I'm sorry.
I was looking at news stories.
I'm sorry. Did you want to talk about something?
No, I'm just, you're wanting to talk about the Nina's tweet and the minimum wage comment. I don't understand how this was so controversial.
Well, it's controversial because a lot of people just say, imagine being so economically illiterate, you think increasing wages on a business by over 100% in some cases wouldn't lead to increased cost to consumers. See, again, it's this whole idea of going after the straw man of, well, what makes you think? Yeah, okay, so Nina was incorrect in saying that the cost of the Big Mac wouldn't increase if we had a $25 minimum wage. But you're still... there is this idea that you don't need a minimum wage. Like, there are people who don't think that that's necessary. If we lived in a country that was extremely labor strong, like in Scandinavia and other parts of the world, if we had universal health care, if we had tuition-free public college and trade schools, then you would probably have a more reasonable argument regarding whether or not a minimum wage should be of any higher amount.
You realize that the same people generally averse to a living wage are also averse to all those other things.
Maybe so.
Either you care to live in a civilization of healthy and educated people, or you do not care to live in that civilization. I don't understand how we're arguing about this. It's so ridiculous. Again, we're putting the onus on, and even if her numbers were wrong, because I actually think it was something like they did do a study as to what you could increase to before prices would go up. These are things that could actually be known numbers. But the bottom line is that if we don't live in a world where people make a living wage, nobody's going to be around to spend any amount of money on those Big Macs. That's what's happening. We're creating such a rift that capitalism is imploding on itself. It's going to self-implode. And there are companies that do this properly. There are companies that pay their workers and turn a profit. It is very possible to do that. Costco does that. There are companies that can pay their workers and turn a profit. I find it very frustrating when people sort of do that. Well, if you do this, then this. No, that's not true. We can pay people a living wage. We choose not to do that. And the government could be subsidizing small businesses to do that. I actually think that would be a solution to help small business owners if they do need help in maintaining, being competitive with businesses that are able to increase that. I mean, I have no problem with that, but people need a living wage. People need a living wage. Nobody should have to be working 2 jobs to be able to live and still not have health care. That is not a sign of a good civilization. And anybody who says that we can't have that, why do you have so little confidence? And I find that it tends to sometimes be people that are so self-proclaimed patriotic. If you think that we're so great, why are we not capable of having these things? We're the richest country in the world, and yet we can't have what other countries have. How do these people reason this?
Well, this is also the reason why you have this issue here. If it will just close the McDonald's franchises near you or push them to automate the entire store.
I'm so sick of the automation argument.
So this lady, Veronica Sims, decides that that's the argument that's worth going for, which is to suggest that, well, you're a worker. You're not worth anything.
Right.
So just be grateful for what you have, because they decided to bring their business into your community. And if you dare fight against them, they'll remove the business. And they say it like, oh, that's okay. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, we'll just remove the business. So you're not really going to miss anything.
Have you ever noticed that the people that generally make these comments are either small business owners who truly don't see any salvation for them if these things were to go into effect? I kind of get that perspective. Okay. I understand that. But it's often people that they don't even consider labor anything worthwhile. Like what you're saying.
They're also generally not happy.
Well, they're not, but a lot of these people are also like entrepreneurs. They're people that are what they would consider like more white collar jobs. They don't care about labor because to them, it's just, doesn't affect them. I just think it's people that are very far removed from working people or people that have ever worked a union type job.
And there is a resentment for blue collar work. There just is.
But yet who do you think should be doing those things? And that's what I'm saying. Like, all work is valuable, not necessarily the same. I don't think that the person who's cleaning the bathrooms at a large company should be making the same amount of money as the CEO. I don't think that. But I do think there's a way to do it so that the person on the bottom has a living wage and everybody up from there makes whatever percentage more. That's what Costco does.
Again, Costco is one of the best.
They maintain the ratio between the top paid and the lowest paid. They maintain a ratio. So everybody gets raises together. Everybody, it's not rocket science. The bottom line is we're being gouged and we're being convinced that we're too greedy to want things that should just be things that are part of a civilization. We're being gaslit, basically.
I do not understand how people cannot see the scam, how they can't understand that you're doing the bidding of the people who are destroying society. Like, that's what you're doing.
You're really supporting your masters.
And they're not helping small businesses. And remember, these multinational corporations, once they are publicly traded companies, they're no longer in the private sector. They say they're in the private sector, but they are now publicly traded, which means they have a direct effect on the economy, meaning that what goes on in Florida affects what goes on in Wyoming. That's a reality.
Why does Wyoming hate me?
Don't know.
I think it's a Cheney thing.
Maybe. So if you're going to have a problem with that part of the business, if you have a private small business that's not publicly traded, then you have a right to do what you want to do. That's your private right. But this is also a reflection of the fact that our labor laws are so bad. So either you believe in the free market, but you also have to believe in a social safety net, which is why capitalism and socialism have to work together in order for society to function and succeed.
Or
there is no other way.
We will be Lord of the Flies. Like,
we're heading there.
The whole point of gathering together as a civilization, as opposed to everybody just being completely off the grid and independent and homesteading. And by the way, I'm all for that. I would love to live in a place where that was how it was. But in order to be part of a civilization, there are certain perks. right? Like that's the whole point of kind of joining together. We all, you want to think of it, whether it's your tax dollars or just your participation in this government, however you want to think of it, we're part of this thing, right? And so why wouldn't we want most of us, as most people as possible, to be as healthy and as educated as possible? How does that not benefit all of us? Why do people want to be surrounded by hungry, uneducated, unhealthy people? How is that good for us? And by the way, those people are not going to be consumers. You're going to keep losing consumers more and more. I mean, I'm trying to say, you know what? This was like the whole FDR thing. He wasn't socialist. He was saving capitalism.
Yeah.
He was saving capitalism from itself because he knew that there was we're not talking about revolution and riots in the streets, because that's where that was probably coming. He knew that, but he saw the bigger picture that if you don't regulate this, it's just there's not going to be anybody to buy our crap anymore.
And
they need consumers.
And we're there right now. That's why it really is devastating that Bernie did not become president for at least one term, because there are those things that FDR was able to do.
Agreed, double K. Agreed.
Ultimately, it could have been a big difference. But we're never going to have the conversation of a federal jobs guarantee as long as somebody like Joe Biden is president. Forget it.
But if we had a federal job guarantee and that paid a living wage, we wouldn't need to have a minimum wage.
That's right. We wouldn't.
I mean, because that would be the competitive rate. Like if you had a federal job guarantee and that became the competitive rate, that would be what people would have to pay. So it would be sort of like, look, Finland doesn't have a minimum wage, but they have very strong labor unions and they get very good, results from that. They don't need to have a minimum wage. I'd love to live where we don't have to legislate it and everybody just takes it upon themselves to pay people a living wage.
Look at Australia. I mean, they run their country as well as anybody. They have a living wage. Their minimum wage is like 18, 19 an hour.
But you're also, it's apples and oranges to some extent. Also they don't have, they have healthcare and they also don't have student debt and they also don't have a lot of other things that we have.
That's right.
Here.
Well, they don't have corporate subsidies like we do, but we do have that. And that's a big part of the problem.
Well, we're socialist we allow socialism for corporations.
That we do. But that's, it's no answer to the problem. All I know is that Nina Turner is an absolute net positive and then some politically. The people who go after her,
it's just not right.
Just lost.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.